They say you can only believe as loud as you yell, and you can only dream as much as you sell yourself. But she found a way through the noise. She followed her heart and found a better choice. Oh, she broke down walls by loving who was with her, and it spread like a fire. She waged a war through peace and forgiveness. One voice is now a choir. Can you feel it? Sacred solution. Can you hear it? Quiet revolution.
Here we are with Jen. Now, everybody met Jen last week. We know Jen is a hypnotherapist. She's a great coach and she can grow anything gardener. And I'm Beth, a master life coach. And you know me from the Creator-Based Way. And then there's Jacine. Say hi, Jacine. Jacine, who is also an amazing coach and a business coach. We are women owned. And our mission is to help you create the life you love, the life you can't wait to get up to in the morning. It's the best. And we're all about talk. The way we create is with the 3 letters of CMH coaching: C for compassion, M for mindfulness, H for hope. And we follow the 5 creator-based principles, which you're learning all about. One of them is change is a gift. As we talk about parenting and grandparenting, we talk about changes in business, or you might have illness in your family. Lots of people do. I mean, look at the chronic problems we've had after COVID with illness. And then there's all these guys: aging, divorce, jobs, relationships, emptiness, and all the things about making children, having children, supporting children. And then there's pain. It's all change. And we learn what to do with it along the way. That's one of the reasons we're here. So you know now, as we know, you can create the life you love from what you are living in the present moment. Using mindfulness and compassion, there's always hope. Which brings us from that dreaded drama triangle we talked about last week into, you want to hear the angels sing? The complementary roles. And that's what we're talking about today. The complementary roles of coach, challenger, and creator.
I like to call them the triple C.
Oh yeah, I forgot the triple C. Yeah,
like
that is right. Let's talk about the creator then. What do you guys know about that creator role? I love to think about it as light to the victim role of shadow, and light that's being powered by thought. It's one of my favorite things, is to think about whatever I hold in my mind tends to manifest in my life. If it's I'm nervous, I'm going to manifest nervousness and tension. If it's I feel scarcity, I'm going to not manifest abundance, right? I'm going to manifest something that's closed and tight. Have you guys had that experience before with what's going on in your mind? Manifests?
Oh yes. Yeah. It's where our focus is. That's where we're going. That's our attention. It happens with riding horses. That's one of the things that early on you're taught is look where you want to go, because the horse will follow where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And if I'm concentrating on looking at my reins, the horse gets really confused and doesn't know what I really want them to do. And then I get angry because the horse isn't doing what I want them to do, right?
And you think that he's being willful or just or something.
And I'm the problem.
Yeah. But it's just that he just doesn't understand, because you're the one that's focused in this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of my biggest is in working with anxious feelings and the worry that comes with it, is when my thoughts are worry-focused thoughts, I actually create more worry and more challenges. Yeah. You look like you know something, Jen.
Oh, I know your worry. I know that. I know that victim well. I find that when I'm in victim mode, I'm very negative. Everything is wrong. Everything's bad. It's negative. So that's my cue that I'm not in a creator, positive, moving forward role. So that's what it looks like to me. Negative is the victim, and positive is the creator. And so I have the opportunity, if I want to then to change my thoughts, because will create more negativity in my life if I continue down that road. And then it kind of like invades everything. And then my husband's irritated. And so it's like, it's passes along.
Well, it's because we are creators by nature. We're
So am I going to
descended from a
create
divine
positive
creator. Yeah.
or negativity? Yeah. Yeah.
We can create worry, or we can create fear, or we can create light, and we can create hope. But either way, we're always creating something.
Yeah.
About the worry, you guys, I just learned that the average person spends 1 hour and 50 minutes every day worrying.
Only
1 hour and 50 minutes. Think about that, though. That's
Average.
15.
Average, Jen.
I know.
Yeah, average 2 hours. Well, people I believe that are highly sensitive and that are traumatized in one way or another and had challenges, I bet they worry a lot more. But imagine what we could do with an extra 2 hours of our day to create, that just blew my mind when I found that. It's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? So let's go back and we'll talk a little bit more about, we're going to do it. Whatever I hold in my mind tends to manifest in my life. What we believe and assume creates our reality. That's what you were just saying, right, Jen? Jen, tell us about Brene Brown and the story I'm telling myself.
I love all of her stuff. And she's actually, I call her one of my mentors because all of her books and everything really has helped in my thought work and in changing and being able to get out of that victim role. But she's really good about letting you know, you need to understand your victim. It's not a bad thing.
Well, you need to love your victim and take care of her.
It's a place of exploration. And so she is always saying, if she finds herself in a situation where she doesn't feel like she is in that, she doesn't use creator role. I can't remember what she says, but she doesn't feel like she's in that positive state or that state of moving forward or whatever. She will say, what is the story I'm telling myself about this? Mm-hmm. And that really helps you kind of like take a step back from the emotional mess or whatever you're in, because you're like, oh my gosh, the story is this, and that's not even happening in front of me.
No, it's not even related. It's something from my past or from some experience I've had. I love the question that I'll ask myself to move from victim and creator is, how do I want to feel? Mm-hmm. And generally I'll be in victim or I'll be feeling sad, or I'll be feeling pity party, or whatever. How do I want to feel? Well, I want to feel happy. Well, what thought is going to help me feel happy? And that leads me right to, what's the story here? What am I telling myself? Because clearly these thoughts they're not accurate. Like Jacine says, they're not helpful, they're not kind, and they're not true. Yeah, the story I'm telling myself.
And sometimes the stories you're telling yourself are stories that other people have told you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that story turns out to be a story that your mother always said, or a story that a teacher always said, then that's even easier to get rid of, because it really is not your story.
No, yeah. Those inherited stories are those stories that are modeled for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what I love is the focus of the creator is forward, right? Yes. The focus of the victim quite often is either in themselves, totally locked up in them, or backward.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's all
stationary or backwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And the focus of a creator is all on vision or on outcome. Yeah. It's awesome here. All right. So let's talk about the creator, because what we got into before was it's all about our focus, right? Whether we're a victim or we're a creator, it's about whether we're focusing forward or we're focusing inward or we're focusing backward. It's all about our approach and about where we choose to put our power. So these are my favorite, you guys. A creator claims and taps into her personal power. Okay, that's all good and fine. But what do you guys do to actually feel your personal power? Power to choose a response. This always reminds me of Viktor Frankl's quote that he's quoted saying, between stimulus and response, there is a space, right? And at creator-based coaching, we're always working on enlarging that space between stimulus and response, being more aware of what's happening in our body, what's happening in our mind, what's happening in our spiritual feelings, so that we can see the space and then make the choice and develop a stronger sense of agency in that choice. But what if you come in and you don't feel power to begin with? Because, we all have days like that.
Yeah. How do you bridge that gap, right?
How do you bridge that gap?
From here, I'm in the victim to I really want to have some personal power
I want to feel better. Yeah. Here, we'll pop through these other things about the creator. And as stuff comes up, just interrupt me. A victim reacts to the anxiety she feels. She resists and she tries to escape, right? That might give you something. A creator is vision focused and she's passion motivated. A creator, and that's one of the things for me that makes a big difference. If I can tap back into, I am a child of God, I have a specific purpose, that vision focus will shift for me because of the passion that I feel about it and will move me forward. A victim seeks to escape and to find comfort or to be rescued from life's problems. Right? It's kind of all about our focus and where we're seeing. What are you thinking, Jen? I can see the gears just going.
Because I do a lot of parts work. So a lot of times my victims are just wounded parts, just trying, just like really acting out a role. And so I think sometimes just being in the role, like my creator role, is actually just acknowledging and being aware that there is a victim there that needs something. What does it need? So I don't think.
Do you find when you acknowledge it that it actually is more clarifying for you as the creator?
Absolutely.
It's like you define those two roles more clearly.
Yeah, because if I try and just give a platitude of a positive thought to that victim, it's getting angry at me and it's pushing back even harder.
Probably disrespected.
Yeah. So for me, sometimes the victim, I just have to, I feel empowered to just actually say, I see you and you're right. You were done wrong, and it's
that was hard.
Yeah, that sucked. You feel that way. And usually that is enough to shift it to where it's like, well, how do you want to feel? Or just maybe it's okay just to be that way for a little bit, because now you've had a little bit of a crack and now you can work more with it later on. And so sometimes it's just that connection for me. But then there are sometimes when I'm in victim role because I am feeling sorry for myself, I can then move myself more into a positive way of thinking and it's not that resistance. Yeah. So I think it's okay sometimes to say, yeah, I am in victim and it's okay. I just don't want to stay there, but kind of feel around what and why. Why am I here?
Well, and can you elaborate? Because I know there are going to be people who don't really understand the premise of parts work. Can you just give us a little mini foundation for what that looks like?
Really super simple.
Super simple.
So have you ever, when you've gone about and done something or you're going to go do something that you maybe don't really want to do, you're like, there's just a part of me that just does not want to do this. But you have recognized that inside of you, there is some type of resistance or some other voice or something that is saying, I don't want to do this, or this sucks, or whatever you're not good enough to go do this, whatever your theme is that's going on. In parts therapy and parts work and inner child work, it's all we have these little fractures within us that developed because of some type of small t trauma or big T trauma that just need validation and love. And they tend to be the things that kind of will sabotage us sometimes and keep us from doing things. And so put us into that victim role because that's all they know about life is that theme, those thoughts, those feelings. And so when we can actually have a connection with them to say, oh, I see you, I hear you, and validate them, then you can move and work with them a little different way to resolve what they need. And sometimes it's just love. But
I think about them a little bit. When we were in like first grade, I remember this because I liked math in first grade. They talked about sets and subsets. And so it was like there was this big master set, and then there were subsets within the set. Like it was a set of toys, and then all the balls were subsets, and all of the other toys were subsets. but sets and subsets. So my parts are like a subset of me. They're all the little pieces of me as I have grown up, but like my 4-year-old self or my 12-year-old or my 13 seriously rebellious self. Those for me. Is that kind of the way you see it for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also your your wounds, the things that were like,
yeah. Big T and little T. I love the way you
yeah,
said that.
yeah, your wounds, and even your inner critic. Your inner critic is a big part. And they're all doing this because they feel that what they are doing is helping to keep you safe, keep you from harm.
It's all in there. They think it's your best interest.
Yes. And so a lot of times I don't understand that you've passed through that age that they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, I think, it's beautiful therapy work, because you get to reparent those parts of you that were wounded.
Because you are the adult now. You got this. You lived through it. You understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's okay sometimes to just understand your victim, whatever's coming up, so that you can be a better creator for that victim.
Yeah. And give her what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She, most of the time, like you said, she needs love and she needs to be consoled and listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can reparent her. I love that word, reparent, as well. Yeah. But what about the escaping and the resisting and the reacting? How do we work with that?
I think it's the same way, but I mean,
listening and affirming.
Yeah.
I know Jacine talked about leaning in at one point. Yeah, the leaning in. Okay, well then that's our creator part. Do you guys have any questions? Anything more you want to talk about creators before we move on to the challenger part? Okay, so then the complement to the victim is the creator. The complement to the challenger is what? We're just left with rescuer and persecutor.
Persecutor for sure, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. So persecutor, I always think about the villains in the cartoons, right? They're there to tie you to the railroad tracks and you're screaming and the train's coming. They're persecuting you. But the challenger has a lot of different faces, but they're the complement role to a persecutor. So a challenger provokes others to take actions. Okay. Have you had any challengers in your life today, y'all? Come on. Doesn't have to be a person. It could be an event.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a circumstance.
Well, I was a challenger yesterday with a doctor who was a huge victim and was so I coach doctors, guys, and just because they are highly educated and doesn't mean that they don't go through the same thing. It doesn't, we're people. So we all have that.
We all do it.
Drama triangle. And so she was having a struggle with an employee, and I was listening. I listened for 12 minutes to her going on and
you know specifically how many minutes.
I do know, because I was going to cut her off.
Patient.
I was going to cut her off at 15, but I only made it to 12.
Okay.
So it was on and on about this employee and how this employee did this and they did that and they did da.
They were persecuting the doctor, right?
Yes, and I just don't know what to do. I would fire them, but I can't. And who else would do this job? And just. And so it was just, finally, I just said, time out. It's just a timeout. Let's think about this, and let's talk about, I'm going to challenge, and that's what I use. I'm going to challenge some of those beliefs that you just gave me,
How perfect.
So let's talk about, when you said this, that's a thought. Is it true? Right? Of course it's true, but what can you do about that, right? How can you take control of this situation instead of being a victim in this situation?
What do I want to create here?
Yeah. Yeah. And that to me is what a challenger does, is they interrupt the victim thought process.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a challenger's an interrupter. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to stop. We can think about this in a different way. How can we do this? And so anyway, yeah.
I think of a big challenger because we live in the country, our power outages. We'll lose electricity and it'll be gone for 3-4 hours because a snake got into the electrical box or something, But it's funny because what happens ultimately to challenge us is you lose all the electricity, the house becomes very quiet, and it's like somebody literally hits a reset button on your life. And it gives you a choice at that point. You can bemoan and be angry and yell at the electric company, or you can choose to enjoy the quiet and maybe find a book of all things, or go outdoors. It's like it wakes everybody up when the electricity goes off. It's like you said, the challenger, they just interrupt her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. It's the interrupter. It stops that train of thought.
Right.
And you've taught me two really good ones that I use as my challenger, when I start doing the victim of the sky is falling or whatever. And it's like, well, what if it does work out?
Yeah, what if it's wonderful?
And the other one is, what if it's wonderful? And so it makes that runaway thought just go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And that's what it's supposed to. It's supposed to stop that neural pathway. And that's why I love that one.
I love that. What if it's wonderful? I have been practicing that since we got the crack in the foundation from the water leak. Mm-hmm. And my brain, when we first heard that there was a crack, was like, okay, so right into victim, the sky is falling as well as the house. It's all going down. We're not going to have anything left. We're going to be living in a trailer while we rebuild for the next 40 years,
Yeah.
Yep.
But then comes the thought of what if it's wonderful? And the more that we've sat with it, this is like the 3rd week that we're working on it. The more wonderful it has become because we were willing to just open the window a little bit, just the crack of what if it's wonderful, just to be willing to entertain that thought. Yeah, it's been really cool. It's learning season for sure. Okay, so we talked about the challenging or the confrontational challenger, but what about the compassionate challenger?
Mm-hmm. It's nice to be, I like a compassionate challenger, I do.
I prefer a compassionate challenger. I just don't know how to be one.
So I know. I'm sitting here thinking, what does that look like?
Right. Come on, Jen, help me.
So a compassionate challenger would be, but what if it's not? What if it turns out better? That's a compassionate challenger, right?
A compassionate, give a hug and offer physical comfort. Perhaps if you're like, we all get hangry, offer some food because we're sunk into life is awful because we're hangry, right? Offer some food. That's a very compassionate thing to do. You held 12 minutes of space for that doctor yesterday. And that is compassionate. I mean, I don't know that I would have made it past 4, just saying.
I know. I'm all like, 5's top. Then we're moving on.
Yeah. 12, JC.
12.
Good job.
12. Yeah.
Good job.
And I love, instead of confrontational,
mm-hmm.
What if we changed that, you guys, in your mind? It's just a thought, but in our family, I don't like confrontation.
I don't like confrontation either.
Yeah. So we changed it, especially when I had teenagers. Instead of confrontation, it was a carefrontation. I care enough about you. I care enough about you to have this really hard conversation. And so we would just say, okay, Brandon, we're having a carefrontation right now. So have a seat because you're not going to be taller.
Because I care about you.
Yeah, but we're going to have this conversation because I care so much about you. So
I love that.
And that's compassionate, right? That's more compassionate.
That is very compassionate. And it softens the whole confrontation thing to really gives it that loving touch.
It is important. Words matter. They matter so much. And when we can just change that instead of confrontation to a carefrontation, to just because I care about you, we're going to have this hard conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in words.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I'd forgotten all about carefrontation. We talked about that in our very first U week with Gemma. I remember.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so another role of the challenger. This I think is really cool. A challenger calls forth the creator's will to create. So a challenger is inspirational, right? In some way or another. Maybe they're an expert storyteller. When my kids were little, we took a class called Parenting in Love and Logic. And one of the suggestions that they made to us when we would work with our kids is to ask the kid who's struggling, well, would you like to hear what other kids have done with this? And you would tell stories about what you had seen, which would prompt them to learn and to choose for themselves so that they could do what they need to move forward to do. Yeah. How else do you think we can call forth the creator's will to create? I mean, we can be confrontational. We can be compassionate.
I just realized this is also another one that I use. It's that, but you can do hard things.
Well, yeah, you're good at hard things.
You're good at hard things. Look at the hard things you can do hard things. And she comes out
to walk.
Yeah. She comes out sometimes when I think, oh, that's just too much. I can't do that. I'm too old. And then she's like, no, you can do hard things.
Yeah, that's where I was today with that checkout page. I'm like, this is just too hard. I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before. But just keep going. Just keep going. Yeah.
Take too long.
Yeah.
Mine's all about
just going to be too much. Well, the thing for me was I could make the checkout page, but I didn't know how to move the checkout page to where somebody could actually use it. And so I didn't want to do anything until I had the other thing solved, but I had no idea how to solve the other thing. So by moving forward and just doing the checkout page and working through it, and I was just really talking to my creator all the way through. I'm like, you know how much I want to do this, but I'm doing this because I said I was going to do this, and I'm just going to keep working through it. And I'm just going to trust that when I get down to the end, that you're going to show me how to connect it because I have no clue. And that's exactly what happened. Was I got to the end of the checkout page and just this little thought came with, well, you've done this before, just do this. And I was like, oh, you're so right.
Again, here we go.
Yeah. But it was calling forth my creator's will to create that was really necessary. Yeah, I'm really grateful for that one. A kind of teacher who points the way. Right? Y'all are great challengers because you're storytellers and you're living it. When you're living a life where you're actually struggling through, because struggle is a wonderful gift. And that's another one of those backward laws that we get to experience on the regular. When you're actually struggling and working through, you're actually learning. And that's the challenge. And that's the kind of teacher that we need to point the way to opportunity and growth. And just saying, I know a lot more about web pages now than I used to. Yeah. And then to reiterate, a challenger can be anything. A challenger can be a stubbed toe. A challenger can be a coworker. It can be the flu or a water leak in your foundation or an overheated engine on your car. There's just lots and lots of ways, depending on how we choose to move into them, that we can be challenged and win. It's all about making the choice to create. Okay, so 2 different kinds of challengers, constructive, deconstructive. What do you think? What would you see as some constructive or deconstructive challengers?
I don't
go through the points. I could show you, but
well, I just love the idea that sometimes we have to unbecome to become.
Oh, caterpillar soup. Tell the story.
Okay, so I love, of course, it's the quintessential like metamorphosis is the butterfly story of how you start as a little teeny egg, you start as a caterpillar, and you eat, and you then spin your chrysalis.
Fuzzy.
And then you then become a butterfly. So it's the whole thing of like change and struggle necessitate the growth to become the beautiful butterfly. And so you have to sometimes go from one stage that you're comfortable in to get to the stage that you want to be in your growth and your projected goal or outcome. But what I love about it is you genetically, that caterpillar knew how to become a butterfly. It just had to go through the process. So I just kind of feel like we sometimes know how to do that ourselves because we are meant to grow and learn in this life so that we can become that butterfly. Just being human, though, we have the choice to either stay as that caterpillar or to become that beautiful butterfly. So that's why I like, sometimes we have to go through that really hard process of letting go and putting away the old to become the new.
Yeah. And allow that becoming. Yeah. And it can be painful.
Oh, serious.
Yeah, it really can.
I think a lot of times it's painful. Like I'm thinking about that. It is painful.
It is painful. It's struggle, right?
And yeah, mentally, it can be mental, it could be physical, it could be spiritual, all of those things. But keeping our focus, knowing what we want as a creator is what helps us if we have to go into that deconstructive mode, right? If we have to go into that caterpillar soup, just being able to know what the whole purpose of it is just incredible. Yeah. So Beth, what is that quote that is about purpose? Oh gosh.
Suffering ceases to be suffering when we understand the meaning behind it.
Yes.
Viktor Frankl. Yeah. That is a really powerful force in my life. That he has made a huge difference for me, just with the two quotes between stimulus and response and then suffering ceases to be suffering. Those two just have given me such a framework to work in. Yeah.
And then that it becomes a challenger instead of
it's a constructive
persecutor, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, and they've done studies that the pain of childbirth, if you measure it, is just as awful. In fact, it's one of the worst pains that we have. But the way that women respond to the pain of childbirth is totally different than the way a woman would respond to the pain of a toothache. As it's a constructive pain. That pain in childbirth is going to give them a baby, and they can endure that, but maybe not so much with the toothache, right? Or with the broken ankle, or, you know, whatever that big pain from surgery is. It's pain with a purpose. When we can see it with a purpose, we really change it. It becomes constructive. What are you thinking, Jen?
Well, I want to piggyback all that you've said, like with pain and struggle, with going back to the butterfly analogy, is because when the butterfly, I mean, it's painful for that caterpillar just to become, we say caterpillar soup, because it literally dissolves into goo.
She is no longer anything related to a caterpillar anymore.
No, and that's got to be like painful.
Oh my gosh.
But yet there's purpose there and there's struggle there. And then and the other thing that we can learn from that is when that butterfly has to break out of that chrysalis, it has to break out. And like then it also has to struggle with its wings. And if you were to help it, it wouldn't have the strength. It would die. So it has to gain the strength from the struggle, the purpose of the pain. Yeah. So I thought just, we can tie it all back to that.
Tie it all together. And if you're going to go back into the caterpillar and the caterpillar soup, one of the things that I marvel at is that the DNA patterns, when he turns into, or she turns into caterpillar soup, are in there such that she knows how to become a butterfly, which for me personally applies to, I know I'm descended from a divine creator. So when I sink into from my caterpillar, where I was so fuzzy and cute, into that awkward, yucky caterpillar soup, I can still have hope because deep in my spiritual DNA, I know how to become a butterfly. Even if it hurts and I don't really feel like I know, it's still in there. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I know I'm a child of God. I know
I am. Yeah. And I know it's in there, even when it's all dark and hard to come out of the cocoon. You know, that quest for personal improvement and that quest for development is right there, all constructive. Then we have deconstructive challengers, and you'll like this because we're really good at this as coaches. All three of us are really good at this. help you to take apart your experience in order to learn from it, right? Let's just look at each of those pieces and look at the progress and look at the reasons for each thing happening or non-reasons and working through that. And recognize what we learn from that. Recognize the patterns of our growth. Yeah. That's a hallmark of a really good coach, because she won't tell you that. She will simply listen to you and ask a choice question now and then, and you will discover, because that's where the real power is. As a challenger, she's good. They give the gift of clarity. And I think when we start looking at our challenges as giving the gift of clarity, I know it doesn't bother me nearly as much when the foundation has a hole in it that's leaking water. If I'm looking at it as a learning with I'm going to have clarity from this. This is going to become a stepping stone that's important for me. If it were also 104 degrees outside and my car were broken, I don't know if I'd have the strength for that, but I can do one. I can do one. Yeah. And that's kind of the way it works. Yeah. So deconstructive, they take us apart. Like when our butterfly is coming down into the caterpillar from the caterpillar stage. Wait, I got that backwards. Our caterpillar is moving into the cocoon. That's deconstructive. Then we've got the constructive, where she's coming out of the cocoon into becoming the butterfly. That's constructive. And the cocoon would be the constructive challenger. So it's kind of fun when you're looking at the challengers in your life to see which ones are which. It gives you a little extra clarity, or which person is which, Yeah.
Well, Beth, you and I talked about too this morning, just our muscles. I started, Jen.
Oh, yes, do tell. Jen's the inspiration for Pilates around here. Yes.
Yeah, Jen started Pilates the beginning of this year. And then I'm like, I need to just start doing something. And so I started working out at a functional training gym. And gosh, just again, our muscles have to deconstruct and break down.
They get little bitty tears in them, right?
Ouch, and it hurts, and it makes me grumpy and tired, and so yes. But again, as a challenger, when I look at that, I'm like, I know that this situation is going to help me rebuild the muscle that I've lost, that has atrophied over the years. And it gives me purpose. Yeah.
I love it both ways, because you've got both the deconstructive challenger and the constructive challenger.
Yeah.
And support on both sides. That's really cool.
And then the coach who was saying, oh no, Jacine, let's add a little more weight to that. I think your form is great. Let's go ahead and add weight to that.
Or one more rep.
Jacine, you can do it one more time. Right.
One more minute. Come on. Do that one set for another minute.
But a coach helps us go so much farther than we would have gone alone. Yeah. It is, it's miraculous how much more you can do than you think you can do. Yeah. And it's all right back there to those roles in your head and your focus. And so the coach helps you with that. Yeah. Yeah. So you'll love it, right? Right there. A coach is fully engaged in the field of play. The thing is most of the coaches at your gym probably also train at your gym, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're creating in their own right. They probably have sore muscles too in different places. And so they feel your pain. They understand that challenge. And then they know just how to coach you because they've been where you are. Yeah. So I'm just going to pull these through and let's just talk about them. The coach questions and listens. The coach is the embodiment of a creator's desire to share power with another. Your coach's real success comes from you and your success. It's not about her, right? It's about you, because you're the team lead and she's the team player. So she supports you in your work. Is your coach male or female at the gym?
I have both. Yeah. Just depends on the day.
Yeah. And so they're your team, right? You come in and you're fully supported. Okay. So let's talk about that in light of the rescuer role as opposed to a rescuer. What would your rescuer do with your weightlifting, and how would that happen as opposed to how would your coach come in?
yeah, the rescuer would be, and here's another example. The rescuer, when I was running after surgery years ago, I was running with my husband and we're running hills and I would get about to a certain point every time and I would just be like, oh, I just can't do this. This is so hard. And he would say, oh, it's okay, honey. You just stay here and walk and then I'll catch you on the way back down. And like he did that to me, I don't even know.
It was a loving rescuer.
It was like he cared. He didn't want to see me hurt. But I'm like, seriously, can't you just say, Jace, you can do this. Come on, let's go. Move it. You get up. He's like, well, I could tell you to get your fat butt up the hill. And I'm like, oh, that'd be super awesome. But no, don't say that.
That'll work.
Yeah.
But okay, think about the sentences in your head. Do you have somebody in your head that says, I can tell you to get your fat butt up the hill? Because that's that inner not the persecutor, right? The inner persecutor.
The persecutor. Yeah. So it went from a rescuer to a persecutor, right? In your head. So so a coach is actually somebody who would help you, assist you, be like, come on, you can do this, encourage you, give you hope.
I think about it in weightlifting where the coach will put their hands on the bar, but they won't lift the weight.
Right.
So you're doing the last rep and you just don't think you do it. So she'll reach down and she'll hold the bar. So you think she's lifting the weight and she'll let you do it. And then she'll tell you afterwards, yeah, I didn't do anything.
All you.
Yeah, it was all you. It was all you. Mm-hmm. She's just there to help you through your personal blocks, right? And so when you're in that role of persecutor and you'd rather be in challenger, or you're in that role of rescuer and you'd rather be in coach, you kind of have to think about that, how that works. It's a partnership and she's helping you to get your solutions. She's not giving you the solutions. Yeah. Because she knows you're a creator at heart. You're descended from God. For goodness sake, you got it all in there, everything you need, so you can do it.
I think a coach also knows that there's a bit of struggle that you need to do to grow.
Struggle is so
it's
good.
encouragement as you're going through the struggle. She'll say, yeah, it sucks, but oh my gosh, you're going to feel great at the end. Come on, keep going. That type of thing,
It's about how good that muscle's growing.
Yeah.
Same thing if you're at school and it's a hard test, or if you're trying really hard not to yell at your kids, or if you're trying really hard to get up early in the morning, or you're trying to be kind to somebody in the workplace. It's all the same thing. It's, this is really hard, but you have it in you and we can help you do that. Yeah. Because she knows. Go ahead.
I love that, Jen, is just acknowledging, because I think for so long when I'm coaching myself, I never gave myself the permission for it to be sucky or hard or difficult. And that part of me needed that hug, and this is really hard, but you know what? You're braver than you think you are, or you're stronger than you think you are. And you've got, just like you did today, Beth, you kept going and saying, okay, I know I can do this because, I
just walked it with my creator. Yeah. It was a wild ride. I'm really grateful that I did, though. Okay. So we know everybody needs a coach and everybody has a coach. If you don't have anybody else in your life, you still have your master creator, your God. Whoever your divine connection is, you've got it. Everybody needs a coach and everybody at least has that coach. Absolutely. So the coach, let's talk about just what a coach embodies and what's a good coach. What do you guys think is a good coach?
I like when my coach validates me, but then also brings in a little bit of the challenger, because I do have that part of me that will be like not wanting to look at what I need to change, or and Beth is a good challenging coach. She'll lay it out there in front of you and you'll be like, and sometimes that's what you need.
Sometimes, but you also need somebody to hold you, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that starts with, oh, that you poor thing, that's so hard. And let you kind of go down into that place and then
The validation.
you're
Yeah.
coming back up. Yeah.
And sometimes a coach has to, hold you, like learning to ride a bicycle, like hold me, keep me
Hold the back of the
steady.
seat.
Yeah, just long enough until I
Get it.
Right.
can get it. I've got that momentum going and I've got that forward movement, and then the coach can turn more into a cheerleader,
Yeah.
oftentimes. Yeah.
Well, and then think about that in the dreaded drama triangle roles. If
Mhm.
you've got your persecutor and you've got your rescuer, and what you really need is a coach, how can you coach yourself in that way? What are the things that you love in a coach, and how can you bring that in for yourself? And a lot of times what happens, or what helps me, is to write that. If
Mhm.
I'll start writing in my journal something that is just driving me to distraction, right? The cyclical thoughts that go round and round and round, and I can't get off of it. If I'll start writing it down and get all of the emotion on a piece of paper, then there just kind of crops up this, well, but what if it's really not?
Mm-hmm.
How could it be different?
Right.
And that opens the window for me to begin to coach in my own writing.
That's interesting, Beth. That's what yours says, because mine will be just, I'll like write a statement down or something, and my coach will be like, "Well, why that?" And then I'll think about it, and okay, so why that thought? Why that? And then it'll just keep going until I get to the root, and oh, that's what that is. So my coach she keeps she keeps asking me
She's
why.
a challenging coach.
Yeah, she challenges me that.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Well, let's just talk about just a little more about tough times. We know struggle makes us stronger, right? Tough times are the fire where our creator character is made strong and whole, the refiner's fire, right? We often we hear about how silver will be refined in the fire until it's so shiny in that fire that you can see the creator's face in the silver, whoever it is that's creating and refining that. It's where we're made strong and whole. It's whether we'll stay in the fire long enough to do that or not. But what would your life look like if you were willing to stay in that refiner's fire? And these are things we can write about. If I were willing to stay in this space and be refined, what would it look like? Would maybe it be more centered? Because I would be more willing to lean in than to resist and run away. Would maybe, I know personally, when I'm willing to stay in the fire for a while, I feel much more personal power when I come out, because it's the self-discovery of knowing I did that and that was really hard is really empowering for me. But do you think, what is it like for you guys in your tough times?
Wow.
It's a big question.
It is a big question, because I think really, for me, it's really dependent on what type of tough time it is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a tough time when I was raising my kids when they were little, it looked very different than a tough time with having adult children.
Yes, where we're more less hands-on and more supportive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that has its own toughness.
It does. It does. Yeah. And yeah, it's very different. So those tough times, my creator character actually puts on different hats for different tough times that come in. And I think that's, I wouldn't call a football coach to coach volleyball,
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I feel like I need to have different coaches in my life to be able to help me self-coach appropriately.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and we're always surrounded by lots of different opportunities from other coaches if we're open to that. Whether it's a coach in a book or a coach on a podcast or a coach in your community, I know that they're placed in our path. What are you thinking, Jen?
I'm just thinking, because at the times when I've been in those challenging times, those tough times, and just kind of thinking, I can see where there were times where my coach showed up. I can see times where my challenger showed up, and I can see times even where my creator showed up because I had to do something to change the situation or to change my thought work and everything. And so I'm just kind of like, they all kind of work sometimes as a team for me, but just come in when they're needed. And I think it kind of goes along like what Jacine was saying. They're different types
of coach
for the times. Yeah. So that's all I'm thinking about right now.
I love that.
Gosh. And you guys, the coolest thing that you can do as you're sitting here listening to us talk is to make some time on Tuesdays and come to Coach and Clear.
Yeah.
That is honestly, you're going to get so much out of, because you're investing in yourself in this anxiety masterclass, but there's so much more, and you are going to have that opportunity to join the Coach and Clear for 3 months because you have purchased this. Make some time, carve some time out and join it, because you're going to learn so many tools in that session on those Tuesdays.
And it'll be an amazing support for all of the struggle. Yeah.
My mind keeps going there, because coming together has such power. The synergy that is present, and just being able to come together as like-minded people. We may not all have the same struggle, but when we come together, oh my gosh, there's so much power. And I can't even stress it.
You just have to experience it, because it is a tangible power. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I can't explain what salt tastes like. You just have to taste salt to know what it tastes like. It tastes like salt.
And it
there's nothing else like this, you guys. Seriously.
Yeah. That was beautiful. Yeah, that's that supportive community. It's amazing. Yeah. So this creator-based way, which is what you'll get at Coach and Clear, and what we're going to be working through all of these sessions, and with the live coaching that we're going to do, we're doing those 3 live coaching sessions with y'all. This is the way of life. It's just the creator-based way. It's based in living in a creator lifestyle and living in the role of a creator, or the 3 different kinds of coaches, right? Like we've been talking about today. It's just a way of life, and it's based on 5 different principles. So let's just talk about these. Jacine, you want to be the reader for a while? Because I've been such a good talking head the whole time.
Yeah. Number 1, you are the creator of your life experience. Number 2, you have within you the light and truth, all the power needed to grow and progress. Number 3, we are different by design. That's like my favorite. I love that.
That is one of my favorites too. And I like to add the word divine. We are different by divine design. It's
by divine
purpose.
Design. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that just feels truth all over.
Yep.
Number 4, happiness is most likely to be achieved when founded on the principles of faith, compassion, mindfulness, and hope. And number 5, change is a gift. Yes. And that is so creator-based, right? We're talking about this, moving from victim to creator, looking at it, change is a gift. It's wonderful. Yeah.
It is an incredible gift. When I say change is a gift, I'm often glad that I do most of my coaching virtually, because most people want to hit me when I say, how is this a gift? This can't be a gift, but it is. I promise it is. When you're living these principles, everything makes sense. And that experience of anxiety that you're having in your life begins to dissolve, because you're not resisting, you're leaning in, you're moving into, and you're embracing that you're learning. And that is the key. That's how it all kind of melts away. And you get to choose the whole way through. So I loved this particular set of this quote. I was going to say this set of words, but it's a quote by Rilke. But it's, Jen, can you see it well enough to read it?
Yeah.
It is just the coolest thought.
Okay, so be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms, and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given you, because you would not be able to live them. The point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer.
Okay, so y'all have been immersed in career-based coaching for a couple of years now. What does that conjure for you?
Yeah. Go ahead, JC.
Man.
I get a
Go
little
ahead,
bit,
Jen.
I get a little bit of like, I think sometimes we're in a hurry to heal and change and be, where we want to be or perfect.
You just want to arrive, for goodness sake, and be done.
When it's a process, and honestly, when I start trying to change something or something that's like, not right with me or whatever, or friction or whatever, I grow in a way that I never thought possible.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like it's that, just seek the process, just enjoy the journey. And then you'll realize what was needed for you to change will have happened. Because I would not have guessed I would have been where I am now when I started my journey of it. It's completely but it's so much better. Right. I don't know if that's what this is all about, but that's what I kind of get out of it. Like, just let it happen and go with it and be in the process of it. And you'll have all these like unexpected, wonderful things happen for you.
The learnings. Live the questions right now. Just keep living the questions.
And I love, the thing that really stands out to me is that one, do not now seek the answers which cannot be given you, because you would not be able to live them. For me, that is so powerful, because if I would have had, if we came with an instruction book and it was given to me, as a teenager that says, okay, as an adult, at age 23, you're going to go through a nasty divorce. You're going to go through a child custody battle. You're going to live in an abusive relationship. You're going to, all of these things that we live through, you're going to have one of your best friends commit suicide. You're going to lose another best friend. You're going to, if that would have been given to me,
dig a hole and crawl in.
Oh, give me the crystal ball. I want to see. No. I don't want those answers. I need to live the life, and I need to lean in, and I need to accept what is what I'm living in right now.
Yeah.
And learn to love it, and learn to, or at least appreciate it, or find some sort of joy in it somehow, some way. Because there is joy. I mean, we've all had hard lives. Like we have, every one of you.
And especially difficult last 4 years. As a nation, we have had a difficult 4 years. Yeah. But
look at who we're becoming because of it, right? Those who are choosing to become creators, man, they're living life.
Huge surge. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I love that. Thanks, you guys. My favorite on this is, perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live into the answer in some distant day. And that's what keeps me going, because I really feel like when we're living the questions, then we're really free. Because what's bondage for me is expecting it to be over and to get there. That's what really causes me chaos. But if I'm willing to just live the questions, then I live into the answer. And it's just so powerful.
Kind of like being okay, kind of like being okay with being not okay.
Yeah. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be perfect.
It's okay to not have all the answers. Yeah.
That's the joy. Yeah. It's okay. Just spend the day in your pajama bottoms if you want to. It really is. Yeah. So that clarifies your focus, right? Because then you choose, as you feel led by your internal creator, to focus on small things and live into it. You live the questions. Your list becomes curated. And with that focus comes peace. I don't know about you guys, but when I've got a big project going on and I'm looking at 6 points all the time, I got to work on all 6 of these, I get really stirred up. But if I'm like, okay, which one is the most important? I'm going to do this one. I can funnel down to where I can really feel good about that one place. I need to curate my list. I need to give myself time. And I need to recognize that anxiety and fear are a natural part of the design of life. We have a nervous system that is like every other system in our body. We have a respiratory system, we have a muscular system, we have a skeletal system. If we don't put weight on our skeletal system, weight like hard things, our bones get brittle and break. If we don't sense anxiety and fear on the regular and then release, our nervous system doesn't work right. It's designed to come up to basically a red zone and then come back down into a green or a blue zone. We're supposed to move through, and it's the resilience that we're cultivating here so that we're living in the moment and we're good all the time. Even when we're red. I mean, when you're in a yellow zone in your nervous system and you're activated and you're a little nervous, it's good because everything's heightened for you. You're sharper, you're more thoughtful, you're usually more articulate. When you move into red, maybe not so articulate, right? But we're just working through that. It's anxiety and fear are a natural part of our life experience. And it's time when we're looking at that to stop villainizing it. Start looking at it as this is a natural part of my life. What do you think, Jen?
I think it's important to also understand that it's natural, but it's natural also to move through it. And so there's sometimes why we have anxiety, why we have stress is we're not allowing ourselves to move through it. We're staying there with the story, or we're staying there with the feeling, when we need to learn how to move through it so that we can go back to that rest and restore state that is naturally supposed to be there for us.
Yeah, we're totally going to talk more about stories all the way through this and in those states and releasing. Yeah. And when we're in that place, just like Rilke says, we will live right into the answer. But it takes time. Just takes time. So looking at anxiety, and we're going to add another tool to your toolbox with this one. This is a book that really profoundly affected me. It's a quote from Lynn Twist. She wrote The Soul of Money. And she worked with impoverished people who really looked like they were stuck. And she worked with this particular woman. She tells the story, but it ended with, if she took all the energy that was tied up in the anxiety and the worry and the fear and focused it on her assets and on her commitment and on her strategies, she now knew in her heart she would be successful. And it's like I told you at the beginning, on average, we spend 2 hours a day worrying. What if we gave up the worry and allowed it to shift into being something focused on what we want, shifting to a creator stance? And how successful could we be? I mean, it's amazing if you put 2 hours a day into something. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But in the meantime, we still have anxiety, right? So we have both things going on. So let's live our life from the creator perspective. And it's like the wave, right? I love that there's actually a wave on this slide that just keeps going up and down.
I do too.
So we practice learning to ride. We don't resist. We don't run away. We don't refuse. We learn to ride. And when we learn to ride, that's when the edge comes off, and it's so much better. So here are some ways. We talked about BFF, being your own best friend, using your breath, feeling your body, finding your feet. We talked about presence, being here where your feet are right now. And we didn't talk a lot about perspective, but do you guys want to talk about perspective? You want to save that for next time? How are you feeling about that?
Let's save it.
Save it. That's kind of how I'm feeling too. Like maybe it's a building block for next time. When we're in that present state though, and we're willing to ride, willingness, you've heard me use that word a lot lately, but willingness, being willing to ride that wave, gives us an ease. And when we're in ease and we're allowing and we're accepting, it's scary sometimes to sit in that feeling that you associate with anxiety. But if you're allowing and you're accepting and you're brave in it, it changes the way everything feels and you'll lose the edge. Jen, do you have experience with that?
Oh, yeah.
With sitting in it, being willing to sit in the feeling?
Yeah.
I have a lot of experience with it because I was like the ultimate resistance.
Oh, total resistance.
And created real anxiety for myself, real problems.
Yeah. Well, because I just learned that the more that I accept it and sit with it, it just lessens. It eases up and lessens. It's that whole thing that Jason talks about too, of like leaning into it. That to me, leaning into me is accepting it.
Yeah.
And then just, and I have feelings sometimes like, well, I'll just say, okay, I find that I have been pushing maybe a thought or a feeling away, and all of a sudden I'll be like, okay, let's just lean into it. What do I need to do? And sometimes I seriously will be like, I think I need to cry. So it's like, and so you're just like, oh my gosh, why do I need to cry?
And there it is. And oh my gosh, here it comes.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't actually become tears. It's just like, I had to accept and acknowledge that that's what the feeling was.
Yeah.
And then then it will ease. And I was like, oh wow, that's
not
interesting.
me. Not me. It's got to come out in boohoo.
I've been pushing that down. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And then with the ease, there's grace, right? And I think we talked all the way through March about grit and grace, giving ourselves grace, but embracing the power outside of ourselves, embracing the power of our divine creator, embracing the power of community, embracing the power of everything outside of it. We have so many amazing supports in the framework of our life if we will accept the grace of them and allow them to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And then keep learning. Just keep swimming, just like Dory. When the waves throw you, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Or Nemo.
That's right.
Yeah. And then when you fall off, and I've watched people surf, and I do not surf. JC, you surf, don't you?
Surf, yeah.
And just explain to me how people can shout yes and jump back on the board. I just don't get that.
Because it's so beautiful when you're in the flow, when you are on a wave and you're riding a wave and you're in that flow, or even just waiting out in the distance, waiting for the wave, the peace and serenity and there is just nothing like being able to be in the flow. It is totally worth face planting on the beach and the rash that you get from the sand, but totally worth it because there's nothing else that feels like that. It's just,
so you shout yes and you take the board and you go run out and
do it again.
You
just go do it again.
Yeah. And that's life. That's a really great life. So moving forward, here's the summary. Last time we talked about the dreaded drama triangle, right? And those roles. And this time we talked about their complement. You own this video now. If you need to go back and go over it over and over again, if you need to just put the recording on your phone and let it play through, you're going to need to hear it many times, but it will serve you well. It's an amazing gift. We talked about perfectionists, those whole intelligent people who are gifted to strive to be perfect and who love precision and who love continually being better. Could it be a gift? Yeah, it could. And then we talked about BFF, breathe, feel your body, find your feet, and riding the wave. And just remember Jacine and that beautiful state and shouting yes and jumping back on the board and doing it again. Just keep riding the wave and living your questions, letting yourself just be where you are and know that where you are is exactly where you should be. That's so liberating. Okay, so we have the second assignment for the class. This is a creator's special relationship with power. Okay, so this week, what you're challenged to do, should you choose to accept this mission, is to practice discerning the difference between power to and power with. Okay, so we've talked a lot just through this about all of the framework that's established for us, the community, the learning, all the different things that support us in our lives. First and foremost, creators share power. They're not isolationists. Creators live in community. And so just in your thoughts and as you're moving through your days and as you're doing your work or you're working with your kids, whatever you're doing, just try to notice power to and power with. When you're working in power with, you're going to feel a continuity. You're going to feel more of the wave kind of feeling. You're going to feel a lot more supported, kind of like this gal who's got herself wrapped. She's very supported. She's in power with. You can see her muscles are flexed. Her quads are working. Her feet, everything's working. Look at her biceps. I mean, she is working in power with to create beauty. Okay. You want to look at that. And then think about how you're actually a co-creator with your master creator. And we also create with all the rest of that framework on the planet. It's that beautiful ripple effect. Jason, can you talk to us about the ripple effect?
Oh my gosh, I love the ripple effect. I love being able to stand near a pond and throw my stone out into the pond and watch the ripples and how they're big at first and then they just get smaller and smaller, but it's wider and wider and wider. The expanse just keeps going. And that's the way it is in our lives with our choices, with the things that we do, the things that we say, the thoughts that we have. It does cause a ripple effect. And man, how we want our ripple effects to be on the creator side, right? We want it to be one of the triple C's. We want it to be beautiful. We want it to affect others in a positive way. And so this is a way we can do it, is learning what our powers are, what our divine design is.
Yeah. What you choose and how you make those choices is going to have an effect on everyone associated with you. And even some people who aren't associated with you because of the way those circles get bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just really like that, Jason, because the image that came to my mind was like, that one stone, you throw it in, and it's almost like, so maybe you just had like a connection with one person around you, but that one person will have a connection with somebody else, and it just kind of grows out till finally it's touching the shore.
Yeah.
So it's like that compounded. And I kind of look at that as this community that we have built through Creator Base. It starts like that, but now all of a sudden we have Coach and Clear, and now we have like the masterminds, and we are connected with each other, and it's like that ripple effect. We are influencing and affecting each other in that positive way with what we do and how we show up.
It's beautiful. And then the last thing in your assignment is to watch for and note how you're supported in creating your life this week. So really pay attention. And this is always Mr. Rogers. I see Mr. Rogers in this, and talk about somebody who had a ripple effect on the world, right?
Oh yeah.
Look for the helpers. Look for the helpers in your life all week long. And it will be amazing what you'll see that you never saw before. Maybe it's your mailman. Maybe it's a driver on the road. It's just these little places where you'll see the tender mercies, the helpers that are sent into your life to help you as you're working to develop this creator power and as you're working for peace in your life.
And as we focus on that, if that's our focus, which it will be, right? It's going to be your focus next week.
It's going to be your focus till the next video comes out.
Oh my gosh, you are going to be amazed at all of it'll start with the big things, so like, oh yeah, of course, and then it will start to become, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was actually helping me in my life. It is going to be profound for you.
And prepare to come back and talk. That is the whole of it. And come to CMH Coaching. Come read the blog. Come hang out with us on the podcast. You can find a creator-based life all the different places. Come let us be part of your framework so that you're getting more and you're coming into this. And you will be glad. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Next video comes out. Do your assignment and let's hear how it's going.
To sing your song. Oh, so she broke down walls by love and who was with her, and it spread like a fire. She waged a war through peace and forgiveness. One voice